5 years had passed since humanity walked out of the council chambers. The galaxy looked very different now. On Axiom Prime, the council chambers had been rebuilt. The old curved table was gone, replaced by a circular one where every seat was equal. At the head of that circle, where once minor species sat in shadows, was the human delegation. Elena Vasquez, older now with more gray in her hair, sat with quiet authority. She no longer asked for permission to speak. Nobody questioned her right to be there. The meeting today was about trade routes through the Velcrin sectors. The Velcrin representative, a young official named Tress, presented his proposal nervously. His people had learned to be careful around humans. "We propose expanding commercial traffic through our territory," Tress said. "In exchange, we ask for human assistance in upgrading our station infrastructure." Elena nodded. "Reasonable. We'll send engineering teams next month. In return, we want assurances that Alliance ships will have priority docking rights." "Agreed," Tress said immediately. No argument. No negotiation. Just agreement. That was how things worked now. In the 5 years since the departure, humanity had become the center of galactic civilization. Not through conquest, through being better, more reliable, more innovative, more fair. The Frontier Alliance had grown to 37 member species. Some were small, just a few colonies. Others were civilizations older than humanity. They joined because humanity offered what the Council never had: genuine partnership. On a human station orbiting the frozen world of Glacius, Ambassador James Park met with representatives of the newest Alliance member. The Sorvan were a proud warrior race, not unlike the Thraws, but wiser. Their leader, War Master Krell, had come personally. "My people have fought the Thraws for centuries," Krell said, his voice like grinding stones. "We never asked the Council for help because we knew they would make us slaves in exchange. But we are tired of war. We hear that humanity offers protection without chains. Is this true?" James smiled. "We don't want to control you. We want you as partners. You defend yourselves. We'll provide technology, trade opportunities, and backup if you need it. You keep your independence. You keep your culture. You just agree not to attack other Alliance members and to honor our mutual defense treaties." Krell studied him with ancient eyes. Why do you offer this? What do you gain?" "Allies," James said simply. "Friends. A galaxy where species work together instead of fighting over scraps. Is that not better than endless war?" Krell was silent for a long moment. Then he extended his massive hand. "The Sorvan join your alliance, not because we are weak, but because you are wise." They shook hands. Another species joined. Another part of the galaxy chose partnership over domination. But not everyone was happy with the new order. In the depths of Thra's space, in a fortress hidden from sensors, military commanders plotted. Threk was gone, imprisoned by humans, but his followers remained. They called themselves the Restoration Council. They believed the Thras should rule, not cooperate. General Vrock stood before his officers, his red scales gleaming in the harsh light. "Humanity has made the galaxy weak," he said. "They preach equality and partnership. They have made warriors into merchants. This ends now." For 3 years, the Restoration Council had prepared. They built ships in secret shipyards. They stockpiled weapons. They recruited from dozens of species who resented human influence. Not just Thros. Velcrin who missed their old power. Pirates who hated human law. Mercenaries who fought for profit. Anyone who wanted the old ways back. Their fleet numbered over 1,000 ships. Not as advanced as human vessels, but numerous. And they had a plan. "We cannot match human technology," Vrock told his commanders. "So we will not fight with technology. We will strike everywhere at once. Dozens of targets across the galaxy. Human stations. Alliance colonies. Trade routes. They cannot be everywhere. We will overwhelm them with numbers." The attack came without warning. Simultaneously, across 50 star systems, the Restoration fleet struck. Bombs exploded on Alliance worlds. Ships ambushed convoys. Stations went dark as commandos seized control. In the first hour, 3,000 Alliance citizens died. The galaxy held its breath. This was the first real test of human power. Could they protect their allies? Could they respond to attacks across such vast distances? The answer came swiftly. Human response fleets appeared within hours. Not days, not weeks, hours. They moved with a speed that defied physics. Every attack point suddenly found human warships arriving in overwhelming force. But humans did not just fight. They ended the fight. At the colony of New Harvest, restoration commandos held hostages in the central dome. They demanded the Alliance withdraw from the sector. Human special forces arrived and infiltrated the dome in minutes. They used weapons that put people to sleep without harming them. Every commando was captured alive. Every hostage was saved. At the trade station of Waypoint 7, restoration ships tried to seize the station. Human warships surrounded them, then broadcast a simple message: surrender or be disabled. Choose now. The restoration ships tried to fight. They were disabled in minutes, their weapons melted, their engines stopped, their crews unharmed but helpless. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Human forces appeared. Human forces won. Human forces captured the attackers alive and provided medical care to anyone injured. General Vrock watched from his command ship as his grand plan fell apart. How were the humans everywhere at once? How did they move so fast? How did they know where every attack would be? The answer came when his ship's navigation computer activated on its own. A face appeared on his screen. Admiral Marcus Chen, commander of human military forces. General Vrock, Chen said calmly. We have been watching you for 3 years. We knew about your secret shipyards. We knew about your recruitment. We knew your plans before you finalized them. Did you really think you could hide from us? Vrock felt cold fear. Impossible. Our security was perfect. Nothing is perfect, Chen replied. You are surrounded. Your fleet is defeated. Your bases are being raided as we speak. You have one chance. Surrender now. Face trial, or we will disable your ship and take you by force. Choose. Vrock looked at his tactical display. Human ships surrounded his position. Hundreds of them.
He could not win.
He had never been able to win. He powered down his weapons. I surrender. The restoration uprising lasted 6 days. The humans crushed it completely. Not through destruction, through superior intelligence, superior speed, and superior tactics. Every restoration base was captured. Every ship was disabled. Every leader was arrested. The trials were held on Axiom Prime, broadcast across the galaxy. Vrock and his commanders stood before human judges, Alliance representatives, and even Council observers. Elena Vasquez herself spoke at the sentencing. You attacked innocent people. You killed those who only wanted peace. You tried to drag the galaxy back into darkness. For these crimes, you will spend your lives in prison, but you will be treated humanely. You will have medical care, education, and the chance to reform. Because we are not like you. We do not answer cruelty with cruelty. The sentences were handed down. The galaxy watched, and they understood humanity was strong. But more than that, humanity was just, they could have executed the conspirators. Instead, they showed mercy. They could have destroyed the Thraz Dominion for harboring the plot. Instead, they helped the Thraz government root out extremists and offered economic aid to rebuild. On Earth, in a school classroom, children learned about the Great Departure. Their teacher, an older woman who had lived through those times, told them the story. Long ago, she said, humanity tried to join the galactic community. We asked politely. We offered friendship. We were rejected and humiliated. So we left, we built our own future. And when we returned as equals. A small boy raised his hand. Why didn't we just fight them from the beginning? The teacher smiled. Because fighting should always be the last choice, not the first. We left because we valued our dignity more than their approval. We became strong because we worked together and never stopped learning. And when we finally used our strength, it was to protect others, not to dominate them. That is what makes us different. The children nodded, understanding in their own way. In the council chambers, the meeting continued. New treaties were signed. Trade agreements were finalized. The Scythe proposed a joint scientific mission to explore the galactic core. Elena approved, suggesting they include 3 Alliance species with advanced sensor technology. Together, we can explore places none of us could reach alone, she said. Around the table, counselors from a dozen species nodded. Human, Sith, Velcrin, Rel, Sorvin, and others. All equal now, all working together. Not because they had to, because they chose to. Outside the station, human ships patrolled alongside vessels from the Alliance and even some council races. Protection patrols keeping trade routes safe. Not just for humans. For everyone, the galaxy had changed. It was not perfect. There were still conflicts. Still problems. Still species that resented human influence and plotted in secret. But overall, the galaxy was more peaceful than it had been in centuries. all because humanity had learned a simple truth. Sometimes you have to walk away from people who do not respect you. Build yourself up. Become strong. Then when you return on your own terms. The council chambers on Axiom Prime had never been so quiet. Every seat was filled. Every counselor stared at the document Elena Vasquez had given them. The human terms, 6 pages that would reshape the entire galaxy. Counselor Vren read them aloud, his voice flat with disbelief. Humanity demands exclusive control of 50 star systems of their choosing. Human vessels will have unrestricted travel rights through all council space. All previous trade restrictions on humanity are void. Any species wishing to use human-developed technology must open their markets and provide full diplomatic recognition. Human colonies will be considered sovereign territory not subject to council law. He looked up, and finally, humanity will establish what they call the Frontier Alliance, offering protection and trade to any minor species that wishes to join. Any attempt to interfere with this alliance will be considered an act of war against humanity. The chamber erupted. Counselors shouted over each other. Some were outraged. Others were frightened. A few looked resigned as if they had seen this coming. "This is outrageous," Threk roared, slamming his fists on his desk. "They are dictating terms to us. We are the Galactic Council. We rule this galaxy, do we?" The Sith speaker's crystalline voice cut through the noise. "The humans just proved we do not. They left our authority. They ignored our power. They built an empire in 1 year while we argued about how to punish them. Maybe we do not rule as much as we thought. We should refuse," a Velcrin counselor said. "We should reject these terms and isolate humanity completely. Economic sanctions. Travel bans. We can force them to negotiate properly." The Scythe speaker made a sound like breaking glass, their version of laughter. "Isolate them?" They isolated themselves. "Sanctions. What will we sanction? They do not need our trade. We need theirs. The economic collapse of the past months proves this." Counselor Rel of the farming world stood. His hand shook as he held his own copy of the terms. "My people are starving. Our children go to bed hungry. Human ships used to buy our grain and transport it to markets. Now we have warehouses full of food rotting because we cannot move it. If these terms bring back human trade, then I vote yes. My pride is not worth my children's lives." Other minor species counselors nodded. They had suffered most from humanity's departure. They had not been the ones to mock humans or restrict them, but they paid the price anyway. "The minor species do not understand," Vren said, trying to sound wise and patient. "This is not about trade. This is about power. If we accept these terms, we admit that humans are equals. Worse, we admit they are stronger. It will encourage others to challenge us." "Perhaps they should," said a new voice. Everyone turned. Counselor Mera of the Idrian Confederation rarely spoke. The Idrians were scientists and philosophers, more interested in study than politics. Mera was old. Even by Idrian standards, her skin like ancient parchment. "For 10,000 years," Mera continued, "the Council has ruled this galaxy based on one principle. Might makes right. The strong dominate the weak. The advanced control the primitive. We justified everything with this principle." She looked around the chamber. "The humans just proved they are stronger. They advanced faster than we thought possible. They built wonders we cannot match. By our own logic, by our own rules, they have earned the right to dictate terms. We are hypocrites if we refuse simply because we do not like being on the receiving end." Silence followed. Uncomfortable, angry silence. But no one could argue with her logic. The vote took 3 days. In the end, the Council agreed to humanity's terms. Not because they wanted to, because they had no choice. The galaxy needed human goods, human ships, human trade. Pride was expensive. Starvation was worse, but accepting the terms was only the beginning. The real change came with the Frontier Alliance. The first species to join was the Rel. Their counselor returned home with a human trade delegation, and within a week, human cargo ships were hauling Rel grain to markets across human space. The Rel farmers went from starving to prosperous almost overnight. Others noticed. The Pym Collective, a species of small insect-like beings who had been exploited by the Velcrin for generations, sent a secret delegation to Seoul. They returned with human protection treaties and mining equipment far better than anything the Velcrin had given them. The Velcrin demanded the Pym return to their control. The Pym refused. When Velcrin warships arrived to enforce compliance, human ships appeared and escorted the Velcrin away. Politely but firmly, The message was clear. Touch our allies and face us. Species after species joined the alliance. The Quinn, who lived on ice worlds the Council considered worthless. The Drav, who were explorers but too small to defend themselves. The Merrics, who were brilliant engineers but terrible warriors. Each brought something valuable: resources, knowledge, skills. Humanity provided protection, technology, and access to trade networks. Within 6 months, 23 species had joined. The balance of power in the galaxy shifted like a landslide. The Council races watched with growing alarm. Their empire, built over thousands of years, was crumbling. Not through war, through choice. Species were choosing humanity over the Council. We should destroy them now, Threk growled in a private council meeting. Before they become too strong, we gather our fleets. We strike at Sol. We end this. With what? The Seth speaker asked. The humans disabled your armada with ease. Since then, we have seen their new ships. They are faster, better armed, more advanced. A direct military confrontation would be suicide. Then we sabotage them, suggested a Velkran intelligence officer. We infiltrate their systems. We create internal conflicts. We turn their allies against them. The Scythe already tried hacking human systems, Vren said tiredly. The humans are better at cyber warfare than we are. As for turning their allies, how? The humans treat their alliance members as equals. They share technology. They offer fair trade. They protect without dominating. Why would those species betray humanity for us when we never gave them what the humans give freely? The truth was bitter. The Council had relied on fear and dominance. Humans offered partnership. In the end, partnership was stronger. Not everyone on the Council was unhappy. The Sith Collective, always practical, adapted quickly. They approached humanity not as masters to servants, but as equals to equals. They offered their advanced computational technology in exchange for human engineering innovations. Humanity agreed. The Sith and humans began collaborating on projects that amazed the galaxy. Fusion reactors that produced twice the power with half the fuel. Medical treatments that cured diseases thought incurable. Ships that moved through space using principles nobody else understood. If you cannot beat them, join them, the Sith speaker said in council. Humanity is not our enemy unless we make them one. I suggest we stop trying. But the Thraz could not let go. Threk's pride burned like acid. He had been humiliated. His fleet had been disabled like toys. Every day he saw human ships traveling freely through Thraz space, protected by treaties his own council had signed. It was unbearable. He began planning, quietly, secretly, a strike that would remind humanity that the Thraz were still dangerous. He gathered loyal officers. He moved ships into position, claiming they were on training exercises. He waited for the right moment. That moment came when a human trade convoy passed through Thraz territory heading to Alliance space. Just 3 cargo ships with a single escort. Easy targets. Threk gave the order. His ships dropped out of hyperspace around the human convoy. Weapons charged. Surrender your ships, Threk broadcast. Humanity has grown arrogant. Today you learn humility. The human escort ship, small and alone, did not respond immediately. Then a voice came through, calm and unbothered. Counselor Threk, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the human vessel Defiant. You are making a mistake. Stand down. I think not, Threk replied. Fire. His ships opened fire. Powerful weapons that could crack planets. Enough firepower to destroy the small human escort 10 times over. The escort ship did not explode. The weapons hit some kind of barrier, a shield that glowed like liquid light, absorbing every shot. The human cargo ships calmly continued on their course, not even bothering to run. Last warning, Captain Chen said. Stand down. Threk's scales flushed dark with rage. All ships full assault! What happened next took 17 seconds. Human reinforcements appeared, not from hyperspace. Just appeared like ghosts becoming solid. 20 ships, 50, 100. They surrounded the Thraz vessels completely. Captain Chen's voice came through again. You attacked a trade convoy. You violated the Treaty of New Horizons. You have committed an act of war. The penalty is immediate disarmament and surrender. Before Threk could respond, every weapon on every Thraz ship simply stopped working, melted from the inside. His shields dropped. His engines went offline. In 17 seconds, his entire strike force was neutralized. The human ships moved in, boarding parties in armor that looked like it was made from starlight itself. They took Threk and his officers prisoner without firing a shot. The Thraz warriors, trained from birth for combat, could not even touch the humans. Threk was brought before a human tribunal on Axiom Prime. Elena Vasquez sat in judgment, along with representatives from the Alliance species. The Galactic Council was forced to watch. 3 months after the Thraz humiliation, the galaxy began to understand the true scale of its mistake. But understanding came slowly, like noticing you are drowning only after water fills your lungs. Merchant Captain Velo hauled cargo between the core worlds. It was a good business, steady, profitable. His ship, the Golden Dawn, carried manufactured components from the Harn systems to the industrial worlds of the Velkrin. Simple work. Easy money, except the factories in the Harn systems had stopped production. Velo showed up to collect his cargo and found frustrated managers pulling their hair out. "We cannot get the parts we need," the factory supervisor told him, all 6 of her arms gesturing wildly. "The microprocessors, the circuit boards, the basic components. The suppliers say they cannot get them." "Nobody can get them. Who made them?" Velo asked. The supervisor checked her records. Her face went pale. "Humans. The humans made them. All of them." Velo heard the same story everywhere he went. Human manufacturers had made millions of simple things. Parts that were not glamorous or impressive, but they were necessary. Circuit boards, power couplings, standard tool sets, basic medical supplies, shipping containers, water filtration membranes. Nobody had realized how much they depended on human production. The advanced races made advanced things. They built quantum computers and plasma weapons and faster-than-light engines. But who wanted to waste time making simple circuit boards? Let the primitive humans do that. It was beneath the attention of civilized species. Now those circuit boards were gone. And without them, the quantum computers could not function. The plasma weapons could not be built. The engines could not be repaired. The galactic economy began to crack. Shipping costs tripled, then quintupled. Human freight companies had moved goods through dangerous space where others would not go. They charged fair prices. They were reliable. Now they were gone, and the routes they used became pirate territory. Frontier colonies started reporting supply shortages. Medicine, food, tools. The things people needed to survive. Human ships had serviced these colonies, traveling routes that were not profitable enough for larger companies to bother with. Those colonies were now isolated, slowly dying. The council held emergency meetings every day. Councillor Vren stood at the podium, his purple skin now looking almost gray with stress. "We must re-establish contact with humanity. We must negotiate their return. The economic damage is becoming critical." "They will not talk to us," the Seath speaker chimed. "We have sent 14 delegations to the Sol system. None have returned. We have broadcast messages on every frequency. No response. Humanity has disconnected from galactic civilization completely." A counselor from a minor race, one that had always stayed quiet before, stood up. His name was Rel, and his people were farmers who lived on 3 small worlds. "My people are starving," he said, his voice breaking. "The humans bought our grain. They were our only market. Now we have mountains of food and no way to ship it. No one else wants to buy from us. You told us humans were beneath us. You told us they did not matter. My children are hungry because we believed you." Silence followed. Uncomfortable, guilty silence. Then the real problem started. The Velkrin and the Thraz had only cooperated because they had a common target: humanity. With humans gone, old hatreds came back. Border disputes that had been ignored flared into skirmishes. Trade disagreements became embargoes. Political insults led to military posturing. Within a month, the Velkrin and Thraz were shooting at each other. Pirate clans, sensing weakness, grew bold. Human peacekeeping forces had patrolled the frontier regions, stopping raiders before they became real threats. Without humans, the pirates multiplied like parasites. They attacked shipping lanes. They raided colonies. They even struck at minor council worlds, knowing the major powers were too busy fighting each other to help. The galaxy was falling apart. That was when the council finally admitted they needed help. They needed to talk to humanity as equals this time, real equals with real respect. They sent their best diplomats to Sol. 3 ships unarmed, broadcasting peaceful intentions on every frequency. They carried gifts. They carried apologies. They carried promises written in formal treaty language. The ships entered the Sol system expecting to be challenged, maybe even attacked. Instead, they were greeted. Human ships appeared, sleek and beautiful, moving with a grace that made the diplomatic vessels look clumsy. The human ships did not threaten. They simply escorted the council diplomats to coordinates that their sensors could barely process. What they found there stole their breath and their confidence. Around the sun, humanity was building a Dyson swarm, thousands of platforms, each covered in solar panels, each collecting the raw power of a star. The math was simple and terrifying. The energy humanity was harvesting was enough to power their entire civilization hundreds of times over. But that was not all. In orbit around Mars, they saw shipyards building vessels that dwarfed anything in council space. Around Jupiter, mining operations pulled resources from the gas giant's moons on a scale that should not be possible. In the asteroid belt, entire rocks had been transformed into habitats. The council had thought humans were hiding and cowering. Instead, they had been building, growing, advancing. The diplomatic ships docked with a human station that floated between the Dyson swarm platforms. The station was huge, filled with gardens and open spaces, built with materials the council scientists could not identify. Everything was clean. Everything worked perfectly. It was more advanced than anything on Axiom Prime. Ambassador Elena Vasquez met them in a conference room with windows that looked out at the Dyson swarm. She had not aged much in the past year, but something in her had changed. She looked confident, comfortable, like someone who had been holding their breath for years and could finally breathe. "Welcome to Sol," she said simply. "Please sit." Counselor Vren sat, trying to maintain dignity. The others followed. Vren cleared his throat. "Ambassador Vasquez, the council wishes to apologize for past misunderstandings. We were wrong to dismiss your concerns. We were wrong to treat humanity as inferior. We come now in good faith to offer true partnership." Elena smiled politely. "That is very nice, but I think you misunderstand the situation." "Misunderstand?" Vren's voice cracked slightly. "You think you are here to negotiate our return to galactic society," Elena said. She stood and walked to the window. "You think you are offering us something we want. You are not." She pointed at the Dyson swarm. "In 1 year, freed from your regulations and restrictions, we have accomplished what should have taken 50 years. We have colonies in places you call impossible to live. We have mining operations in dimensions you did not know existed. We have advanced our technology by leaps that we could never have made while begging for scraps at your table." Elena turned back to face them. "We do not need you. We do not want to rejoin your council. We are not here to negotiate our return." The counselors sat in stunned silence. Then, "Why did you let us come here?" Vren asked quietly. "Because I wanted you to see what you lost," Elena replied. "I wanted you to understand that humanity is not coming back. We are better without you." "But the galaxy is falling apart," a Velcran diplomat said, standing up. "Species are suffering. Without human trade, entire economies are collapsing." "That is not our problem," Elena said coldly. "You made your choice when you laughed at us, when you called us primitives, when you treated us like children begging adults for permission to exist." She walked back to the table and placed her hands on it, leaning forward. "However, I am willing to discuss limited cooperation. Not because we need you, but because there are innocent species suffering because of choices they did not make. Species like the Rel, who only wanted to farm and sell their grain. We will not let them starve because you are too proud to ask for help properly." Vren swallowed his pride. It was bitter. "What are your terms?" Elena pulled out a data pad and slid it across the table. "These are our terms, non-negotiable. Read them. Think about them, then decide if you are ready to treat humanity as the equals we always were." The counselors read the terms. With each line, their eyes grew wider. These were not the requests of a species begging for acceptance. These were the demands of a power that knew its worth. These terms are... Vren searched for words. "Fair," Elena finished for him. "These terms are fair. Fairer than you ever were to us. Accept them or do not. Either way, humanity will be fine. The question is whether you will be." The meeting ended. The diplomats returned to their ships, their minds full of impossible sights and uncomfortable truths. Behind them, the Dyson swarm continued to grow, each panel a reminder of what humanity had become when the galaxy stopped holding them back. The council had pushed humanity too far. Now they would pay for that mistake. Not with war, Something worse. They would have to admit they had been wrong. 6 months had passed since the humans walked out of Axiom Prime. At first, the council barely noticed. Then, slowly, reports began to arrive that made even the most confident counselors nervous. Humans were disappearing. Not dying. Not fleeing in panic, just vanishing. Captain Srel of the Velkrin merchant fleet was the first to report something strange. His ship had traded with human colonies for years. The humans bought simple things and sold basic manufactured goods. Easy profit for Srel. When he arrived at the human colony of New Shanghai, he found the orbital docking platforms empty. He sent a message to the surface. No response. He sent another. Silence. Scans showed the cities were still there, but no life signs. No power signatures, nothing. Srel sent a landing team. They found buildings intact but empty. Homes with no people. Factories with no workers. The machines were gone. The computers had been wiped clean. Even the pets were gone. It was as if millions of people had simply walked away, taking everything that mattered with them. It's like everyone left for lunch and never came back, one of Srel's officers said, her voice shaking. The same reports came from every human colony. 12 worlds home to billions of people empty, not destroyed, not invaded, abandoned. The council called it impossible. You cannot evacuate entire planets without anyone noticing. Where did the ships come from? Where did the people go? The logistics alone should have taken years, but the humans had done it in 6 months. Then the reports about Earth itself started coming in. The Sol system, humanity's home, had become a black hole of information. Any ship that got close to the system simply disappeared. The council sent probes. The probes stopped transmitting the moment they crossed into Sol space. They sent drones with more advanced technology. Same result. Counselor Vren stood before the council, his purple skin darker than usual. He was angry and trying not to show fear. The humans are clearly preparing for war, he announced. They have pulled back to their home system to build weapons. We must act now before they become a real threat. The Sith collective, beings that looked like walking crystal formations, disagreed. We have analyzed the pattern, their speaker said in a voice like wind chimes. This is not preparation for war. This is extraction. They are leaving. Leaving? Leaving to where? Threk demanded. His red scales seemed to glow with rage. Space is big, but it is not infinite. They cannot hide from us forever. But humans were doing exactly that. Reports came in from deep space, from the dark areas between star systems where nothing lived. Freighter captains traveling the lonely routes saw things, massive construction projects in systems that had no habitable planets, structures being built on scales that made no sense, ships with designs nobody recognized, moving with precision that seemed impossible. A Velkrin science station on the frontier edge of the galaxy went offline. When the rescue team arrived 3 weeks later, they found the station intact but the crew gone. The main computer had one file remaining, dated from the day they disappeared. It was video footage. Shaky, panicked footage. The scientist recording was breathing hard. They came out of nowhere, she gasped. No hyperspace signature. No warning. Ships we've never seen before. They're not attacking. They're just taking things. Taking our research. Taking our equipment. Taking... The video cut to static, then came back. The scientist was calmer now, but her eyes were wide with shock. They spoke to us. The humans. They said they're sorry. But they need our research more than we do. They said they're not our enemies unless we make them our enemies. They said to tell the council. She swallowed hard. Tell the council to stop looking for them. The video ended. The Scythe Collective did what they did best. They tried to hack human systems to find out what was happening. Their cyber warfare specialists were the best in the galaxy. They could break into any network, steal any data. They discovered they had already been hacked. Months ago, the Scythe archives, supposedly the most secure databases in known space, had been completely compromised. Years of intelligence data had been copied. Military secrets, economic information, political scandals, everything. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what the hackers had left behind. New files that the Sith had not created. Detailed blueprints of every Sith military installation, with helpful notes pointing out weaknesses in their defenses. Complete psychological profiles of Sith leadership. even shopping lists of which Sith technologies would be most useful to study. There was a text file, written in perfect Sith language, that simply said, "We learned from the best. Thank you for your contribution to human advancement." The Scythe speaker stood before the council, their crystalline body flickering with distress. "We estimate the humans have been inside our networks for at least 2 years, possibly longer. Everything we know, they know. Everything we planned, they anticipated." Panic spread through the council like disease. The Thra's Dominion, never patient, decided to act. Councillor Threk convinced the military commanders that humanity must be crushed now, while they were still weak and hiding. "We will find their colonies," Threk announced. "We will destroy their fleets. We will remind them why they should have accepted our mercy." The Thras assembled their armada, 300 ships, the pride of their fleet, led by Threk himself aboard the dreadnought Unbreakable Will. They had tracked some of the human evacuation routes. They knew where 3 human frontier colonies had been. Those colonies would be their first targets. The armada arrived at the first colony, weapons charged and ready. They found empty space. The colony was gone, not destroyed. The entire structure had been moved or dismantled. Not even debris remained. "Find the next one," Threk ordered. Same result, empty space. At the third location, they found something. A probe human-made floating alone in the dark. It activated when the Thra's fleet approached. A simple message played on all frequencies. "You are looking for us. Stop. This is your only warning. Go home," Threk laughed. A warning? From humans? Destroy that probe and continue the search pattern. The probe was destroyed. The fleet spread out, scanning for any sign of human presence. That was when the attacks began. Ships appeared from nowhere. Not from hyperspace, which left detectable traces. Just appeared. They were sleek and dark, covered in materials that bent light around them. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. The sensors could not get accurate counts. The human ships did not hail. They did not demand surrender. They simply attacked, but not the way the Thras expected. The weapons did not destroy. They disabled. Precise strikes on engine systems. Targeted blasts that melted weapon arrays but left crew compartments untouched. It was surgical. It was perfect. It was terrifying. Within 2 hours, the Thra's armada was crippled. Not a single ship destroyed. Not a single crew member killed. But 300 warships floated helplessly in space, powerless and defenseless. The human ships came alongside the Unbreakable Will. Threk stood on his bridge, scales pale with shock. A message came through audio only in perfect Thra's language. "We do not want war. We want to be left alone. You have been disabled, not destroyed, to prove a point. We could have killed you all. Remember that. Remember that we chose mercy. Next time we may choose differently. Go home, Councillor Threk. Tell them what happened here. Tell them the humans are done asking nicely." The human ships vanished as mysteriously as they had appeared. It took 3 weeks for rescue ships to reach the Thra's fleet and tow them home. 3 weeks floating in space, helpless, thinking about how easily they had been defeated. When Threk returned to Axiom Prime, he stood before the council and told them everything. His voice shook. His pride was gone. "We were wrong," he said. "The humans were never weak. They were patient. Now that patience is gone." The council chamber fell silent. They had pushed the humans too far. They had mocked them, restricted them, humiliated them, and the humans had not broken. They had left. They had hidden. They had advanced. Now they were ghosts in the dark. And the galaxy was starting to realize that ghosts could be very dangerous indeed. Humans depart from peace talks, and the Galaxy Council regrets pushing them too far. The meeting room was enormous. It floated in space attached to a station called Axiom Prime. Inside, beings from across the galaxy sat in their special seats. Some had 4 arms. Others had scales or fur. A few glowed with strange lights. They were the Galactic Council, the rulers of known space. At the far end of the curved table, almost hidden in the shadows, sat the human delegation. There were only 5 of them. They wore simple black suits. Their leader was a woman named Elena Vasquez. She had gray hair pulled back tight. Her face showed no emotion, but her eyes were tired. Very tired. This was the 37th meeting. Elena had counted every single one. For 3 years, humans had come to these talks. They asked for fair treatment. They wanted to trade freely with other species. They wanted their colonies to be safe. They wanted a real voice in galactic decisions. Each time the council said no, the human question, announced Counselor Vren, a tall being with purple skin and too many fingers. His voice echoed through the chamber. We have reviewed your latest requests. The council has made its decision. Elena leaned forward slightly. Maybe this time would be different. Your species will remain in observer status, Vren continued. Your trade restrictions will continue. You will pay the protection fees we have set. Your ships will not use the primary hyperspace lanes. These terms are final. Counselor Threk stood up. He was from the Thraz Dominion, a warrior race that loved war more than peace. His scales were red and black. His teeth were sharp when he smiled, and he was smiling now. Humans should be grateful, Threk said, his voice like grinding metal. We allow you in civilized space. We could have destroyed your primitive worlds when you first stumbled into faster-than-light travel. You have one planet. We have thousands. Know your place, laughter rippled through the council. Not polite laughter. The kind that makes children cry. Elena's hands rested on the table. They did not shake. Behind her, the other human diplomats sat perfectly still. They had learned not to show anger here. Anger made the council laugh harder. A Velcrin counselor spoke next. The Velcrin looked almost human, except their eyes were solid gold and they never blinked. Perhaps we should formalize this situation, she said smoothly. I propose we classify Earth and its colonies as a developing protectorate. They clearly need guidance. Superior guidance, more voices joined in agreeing, suggesting even harsher terms. Humans should give up 2 of their 12 colonies. Humans should hand over their military technology for inspection. Humans should send their children to council schools to learn proper civilization. Elena stood up. The movement was so sudden that several counselors reached for weapons. But Elena just stood there gathering the papers in front of her. One by one, she stacked them neatly. Ambassador Vasquez, Vren said sharply. We have not dismissed you. Sit down. No, Elena said quietly. The word hung in the air like a bomb that had not exploded yet. What did you say? Threk growled. Elena looked at him. Then she looked at each council member one by one. When she spoke, her voice was calm and cold. For 3 years we have come here. We have asked politely. We have offered friendship. We have tried to show you that humans can be valuable partners. We have been patient. She picked up her papers. You mistake patience for weakness. You think because we want peace we cannot make war. You believe because we ask nicely we have no other choice. Elena turned to her delegation. Pack everything. We're leaving. You cannot leave. Vren stood, his voice shaking with rage. The council has not given you permission. Elena looked at him like he was a child who had said something foolish. We don't need your permission. Humanity withdraws from these talks. We withdraw from all council jurisdiction. We withdraw from galactic society. She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Permanently. You're making a mistake, the Velcrin counselor said. Outside council protection, your species will not survive. There are dangers in space you cannot imagine. Then we will face them alone, Elena replied. We will fail or succeed on our own terms, but we will never sit in this room again, begging for scraps from your table while you laugh at us. The human delegation walked toward the exit. Their footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. Threk slammed his fist on the table. If you leave, you are enemies of the council. We will treat you as such. Elena stopped at the door. She looked back over her shoulder. You already treated us as enemies. You just pretended to be civilized about it. At least now we all know the truth. The doors closed behind them. In the council chamber, several members laughed. Good riddance, someone said. Others nodded. A few looked worried, but they did not speak up. The council had won. The annoying humans were gone. On the human shuttle back to their ship, Elena sat in the pilot's seat. Her hands moved across the controls with practiced ease. Behind her, her second-in-command, James Park, asked the question everyone was thinking. Did we just start a war? No, Elena said. She activated the communication system and entered a code she had memorized years ago. We ended a peace that was never real. The channel opened. On Earth, in a bunker deep below the mountains of Colorado, military leaders waited. Elena had told them this day might come. They had prepared. This is Ambassador Vasquez, she said clearly. Execute Protocol Exodus. On the other end, a general's voice responded. Confirmed. Protocol Exodus is active. God help us all. God helps those who help themselves, Elena replied. She closed the channel. The shuttle docked with the human ship, the Endeavor. It was not a warship. Humans had few warships. The Council had made sure of that. But as the Endeavor's engines powered up, as it turned away from Axiom Prime and prepared to jump to hyperspace, something changed in the galaxy. Humanity had tried to join the galactic community. They had been rejected, mocked, and threatened. Now they were leaving, not in fear, not in surrender. In the months and years that followed, the galaxy would learn what that meant. They would learn that humans, when pushed too far, do not break. They adapt, they innovate, they become something new. As the Endeavor entered hyperspace, Elena allowed herself a small, genuine smile. The Council thought they had won. They thought humanity would crawl back, desperate and broken. They thought humans needed them. They were about to discover how wrong they were. In her private quarters later, Elena recorded a message for the history files. Future generations of humans would want to know why. Why did they leave? Why did they choose isolation over compromise? We left because they would never see us as equals, she said to the camera. We left because our children deserved better than to grow up begging for respect. We left because sometimes the only way to win is to stop playing a game that was rigged against you from the start. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. What happens next will not be easy, but it will be ours, our success or failure, our future, and that is worth more than all the Council's approval. Elena ended the recording. Outside her window, stars streaked past in the beautiful chaos of hyperspace. Somewhere ahead was Earth. Somewhere ahead was humanity's future, whatever that might be. Behind them, the Council celebrated. They had no idea what they had unleashed. The countdown had begun.